We'll be starting in just a couple of minutes. If you're waiting for my introduction to Microsoft PowerPoint, please visit the address on the screen to download the handouts if you're going to follow along. Thanks, and it will be beginning in just a couple of minutes. Okay, hello and welcome to Basic Microsoft PowerPoint here with the Ferguson library. So today we're looking at just the basics of starting to work with Microsoft PowerPoint. If you have no experience with PowerPoint, then this is where you want to begin. Going in, I'm going to kind of into this class here and such, we are going to be looking at some of the basics, as I mentioned, the basics of PowerPoint. But first, let me just kind of give you some of the tips of kind of working with the class here on YouTube. First thing up, what you're seeing right now is a little bit delayed from where I'm at. So if you do ask a question, it might take me just a little bit. I might have gone on past where your question is. Trust me, I will see your questions and I will answer them when I think there's a good time to stop and answer the questions. That said, if you want to ask a question during the course of what I'm working on, just ask it in the chat here on YouTube. I should be able to see that there, and then I'll get and answer your question when that happens. If you want to follow along with the exercises in this class tonight, then you will want to visit the address that I have right up here, the fergusonlibrary.org/online-tech-classes. And what that will do is that will bring you to this page here. So this is the Ferguson Library online technology class page. We have our upcoming class schedule here. I will be updating this for our early fall schedule. We do have our schedule available for September and October, and I'll talk a bit more about that at the end of the class. But you can see right now we're here at Basic Microsoft PowerPoint, and we have 2 more classes coming up. One this Thursday, online learning resources from the Ferguson Library, and then next week on Tuesday at the same time here, 7 to 9, I'll be doing a Learn How to Live Stream Online. So basically talking about what I'm doing right now, the technology, and how I'm actually broadcasting this out to YouTube right now. So this is kind of the place to come to kind of get an update on our technology classes, why we're not having them in the physical library. Scrolling down, there's a bunch of different tabs for all the different classes. For tonight's class, you'll want to come here to this basic Microsoft PowerPoint tab. So you click on that and it will open up down here. And there are 3 different things to pay attention to here. First, we have our handout here. And so if you want to click on this or right click and do save target, where is it? It's not working actually. If you actually click on it, it will then ask either to download or open up the PDF in your browser. And what that will do is that will open up our handout right here. And so the handout has like a basic reference to PowerPoint on there, as well as the exercises that we're working on in the class. I'm going to ask you right now, please disregard here at the end the further study and practice with lynda.com. The library no longer provides access to lynda.com. I will talk about the alternate near the end of the class. I just haven't had a chance to update my handouts yet on this. So that's our handout there. Let me go back to the website. The other thing that you want to do is this middle thing here is a link that will actually go out to a bunch of different images. So if I click on this, this should load. There we go. There's a bunch of different images that we have set up for that I've included for the exercises here in for the PowerPoint exercise. And so in order to kind of download these so you can use them in your own program, what you want to do is you'll want to click on it with your left mouse button. And what that'll do is that'll open it up in your browser, right click, and do Save Image As. And then save it to a place on your computer. And then you'll be able to put them into PowerPoint when we get to that part in the exercise. And then you just go back, click the back button, and just do the same thing for all the other ones there. So you're welcome to do that there as I go through and talk about some of the other introductory things that we do in the class. Going back one more page, going back again to the online-tech.classes page. The final thing down here is a survey link, and I'll bring this up again when I come to the end of the class. This is a way for you to provide feedback on the class to me at the end. I will also share the address on your screens at the end of the class as well too. So you'll see the address that it's going to. And this will just go to a simple feedback form, a few questions, and a couple boxes to kind of type in some responses. So with that done, if anybody has any questions, please post them into the chat. If you want to follow along, please go and grab the handout here and then go download the different images from the website here. And that'll become more important as we move later on into the class. So with that said, let's actually get into the basic Microsoft PowerPoint. So what is this class going to cover? So we're going to be looking at the very basics of Microsoft PowerPoint here. We're going to be looking at how to open, save, and create new Microsoft PowerPoint presentations. We're going to look at how to create a new slide in the PowerPoint presentation. A PowerPoint presentation is made up of multiple slides, and on each slide are different elements. So whether it's like text or images or graphs or charts or tables, each slide is going to have multiple elements, and then a slideshow will have multiple slides, or slideshow or presentation. I'll use those words interchangeably through this evening. We'll look at adding text and images to PowerPoint. And then we're going to look at changing the design of the presentation. So Microsoft PowerPoint has some really easy things to kind of change the overall design and look of the PowerPoint presentations really easily. And so we're just going to look at some of those different things on there so you can go in and play around with that there. And then finally, we're going to look at playing your slideshow. So we're going to look at kind of building a basic slideshow using text and images. And then we're going to look at what you have to do to be able to play or present it to your audience when you're using that there. So as we go into that there, the first thing I'm going to start off with is we're going to do a brief tour of Microsoft PowerPoint so you can kind of understand where things are and the terminology as I'm talking about different things in Microsoft PowerPoint, what I'm actually meaning for that there. So I'm going to open up PowerPoint here. And so in this case here, I am using PowerPoint 365, which is one of the later versions of PowerPoint that's available. If you are using PowerPoint 2016 or PowerPoint 2019, those are the two other recent editions of PowerPoint that are out there. Everything will look very similar to what I'm seeing here. There might be some slight differences on there. If you're using an older version, PowerPoint 2013, PowerPoint 2010, a lot of everything that we're going to be doing in this class, you're going to be able to do in those earlier versions. Again, it might look a little bit different. If you do have a question or something's not matching with what you're seeing on my screen here in your own PowerPoint, please send me a message in the chat, and I will we'll then kind of figure out the best way to kind of make it how it should look, what you should be doing in your version of PowerPoint. But if you're using one of the most recent ones, 2016, 2019, this is 365 that I'm using on my computer here. They all should look very much the same and behave the same. But nothing that we're doing, I mean, we could go all the way back to like Office 2007 and we'll be able to do everything that we're doing in this class here. So don't worry if you have an older version and it doesn't look exactly the same. I'll help you kind of keep on track with where we are. So when you first open up Microsoft PowerPoint, this is the screen that greets you. And it literally does greet you now. They actually have this little message up here that says good evening, because it is evening. And if you open up in the morning, it'll say good morning. They actually greet you. It's kind of a nice little friendly thing. Just what we want from our office productivity software. But this is what Microsoft Office calls their Backstage View. So this is also what you'll see when you open up the File menu. When you've been working in PowerPoint and you go to File, this is also what you see. So this is the Backstage View. This is kind of where you're able to arrange things, decide on opening up new presentations, opening up saved presentations, and then some options and feedback kind of, or options in your account information with Microsoft on there. So in order to create a new presentation, generally you'll want to, you can actually double click on one of the things up here, but in most cases, the easiest thing is you go here to new, and this will take you to the new presentation screen. And so right up here at the top, they have blank presentation, which is where we're going to be starting. We're going to be opening up a blank presentation, but I just want to show down here, you can see they actually have some themes set up so that you kind of give you kind of a kickstart, a kind of a boost to your presentation with design and everything there. But you'll see as we're working in PowerPoint, you can kind of get that jazzed up design at any point in the process. And so my feeling is I always kind of like to start with a blank presentation first, where I can work and get all of my content in. So content being my pictures, being my text, being kind of whatever information I want to present to you or to whoever I'm presenting to. And then once I have that information in there, then I'll go back and think about how the design works. Am I going to look at what's the background colors going to be? Am I going to put other images on there? Am I going to use a theme or design kind of things? We'll see those as we get later onto the class. But I like to have kind of that blank start and kind of get all the information in and then go through and kind of tweak things with the design. So when you create a new presentation, you'll come up here and you'll just click blank presentation, and that will open up your presentation, your work window that we're working on here. So this is where we work. This is where you spend most of your time in PowerPoint working and building your presentation. Now you'll see up here on the left, we have our bar here that is our slide table of contents. Right now we just have one slide in here, but as we create more slides, they'll just kind of go down here. One of the nice things about PowerPoint is that it's very intuitive in the way that the slides work, that if you wanted to rearrange the slides, it's just a matter of clicking and dragging them down into the order that you want to do. And we'll see that when we have more slides. Right now it doesn't make any sense because I only have one slide. You'll see briefly over on the right, I have this design tab. That's that same kind of templates that they offered early on. They're just kind of giving you some design view, and you'll see that kind of pop up as we kind of continue working. If I add a picture in here, it'll give me a design view kind of thing about the best way maybe to present it, or a kind of an energetic way to present it there. But we'll get into more of that later on in the class. One of the things that's also recommended, I recommend when you're working in PowerPoint, actually when you're working in almost any Microsoft Office program, is create your new file. So we've created our new file right here, and then almost immediately save it. So what I'm going to do up here is I'm going to go to File. So you can see up here on the top we have our ribbon, which is this section right up here. And right above the ribbon we have a menu bar that has a different kind of menus. And this will jump to different tabs in the ribbons. But I'm going to come up here to the File in the top left. I'm going to click File. And you can see now my Backstage View has a little bit more information. We still have up here in the top left, we have those same three options that we had before. We had Home, we had New, we had Open. But now we have a little bit more information down here in our Backstage View. So we have Info. Info comes here and it presents, it gives us a place that we can see the information about our PowerPoint presentation and also add some information. And so this is what they call metadata, or just kind of background data that when you say send the presentation to someone, or you have the presentation saved and you're looking at it in the files, this will be where some of the information is, how things get organized on there. We're not going to really kind of go into this in this class here, but it's kind of worth just kind of getting in and exploring what this here offers. We have Save. So you'll notice that when I clicked on Save, it automatically jumped down here to Save As. And the reason for that there is that the first time you save any file in Microsoft Office, whether you're working in Word, Excel, or PowerPoint, the first thing it needs to do is a Save As. And what Save As does, it allows you to choose the location where on your computer the file will get saved and what the file name is. And so because it does not have a location or a file name yet, we have to provide that information at the beginning. So you can see over here, there's some like recent locations where it can get saved. There's the OneDrive. If you have that set up, you can save there, and that's Microsoft's cloud storage, where you're able to access it from like any computer that you can sign into. You can browse. If I click browse here, this will give me the classic Windows save dialog. So if this is what you're used to working with in Microsoft Office, just click on browse and you get this normal kind of interface here, which is very useful to use. But you can also save over here. You can actually you can go here. So right now this is being saved in documents. If I click this here, I'm going to also get my save as here, and I can choose where I want to save it. In this case, I'm just going to save mine on the desktop, because this is not something I'm going to keep, so it's not something I'm going to, I don't want to keep it in my documents. I'm not going to be able to find it again later, because my documents on this computer are a little bit of a mess. You can also see right down here, I can put in a file name. So I'm going to type in basic PowerPoint class. And so that's where I'm going to save the file. As you can see, it's already giving it as a different type here. And then I just click save. So now I've saved my file. And you can tell, now I'm back to my work window. And you can tell right up here on the very top in the toolbar, it now has a name. There's my basic PowerPoint class.pptx. .pptx is the file extension for PowerPoint files made in Office 2007 and after. If you have at this point, you should not be using Office 2003, which is the earlier version before Office 2007. But if you are, it will save it as a PPT file. But anything from 2007 onwards is going to save as this PPTX file. And let's just go. I just want to quickly go back to the Backstage View and just kind of show you some of the other options that are here. Now that I've saved it, so you can see I have the file name there. If I go and click Save, it just saves the file. I don't have to choose where it saves or how it or what the file name is. Now that it already has the location and the file name, when I click Save, it will automatically save it to that same place, overwriting or copying over the file that I already had saved with all my changes that I've made. This is also available by hitting Control-S on your keyboard. Control-S is a very useful, very powerful keyboard shortcut that I implore you all to learn and teach into your muscle memory, that as you're working, so like, okay, I've gone through and I've created a slide here, I automatically just hit Control-S on my keyboard and save it, because you never know what might happen to your computer. The battery might die, or I'm on a desktop computer, so my power might go out, and then I would kind of lose the last several minutes of work. It's better to lose the last several minutes of work than to lose the last several hours worth of work. So get kind of in that habit of kind of just frequently saving. It's just kind of a tip for any sort of computer use as you're doing. There's also up here on the top in the toolbar, there's a little save the disk icon up here. The old way that we used to save files was on these floppy disks. You can click that and it'll automatically save the file as well too. Once again, back in the Backstage View, some of the other options that we have here is we have okay, so if you wanted to save it as a different file or in a different place, like suppose you wanted to save this onto a flash drive, so you've saved it onto your computer as you've been working on it, and now that you're done working on it and you're ready to take it with you to wherever you're presenting, you can go to Save As again, and then you can decide to save it onto your flash drive or wherever other device that you want to save it on, or other location. So Save As is also available. That allows you to choose a new location and a new file name for the file. Moving down, we have our print, which is where if you wanted to print the your presentation. And there's a bunch of different kind of settings in here where this is kind of outside the scope of the class. Just this is where if you want to go print, that you can go print things. You can print the slides. You can print just the slide that you're seeing. But then there's also ways that you can print, like every page will have its own slide, or you're printing your notes or the outline, or you're going to do like handouts that are going to have multiple slides on there. So you can kind of play around with how it gets sent out to your printer if you're going to print things. And then there's close, which just closes the file there. I'm not going to go into share and export. These are a couple of other different things that I'm dealing with. But I do encourage you, as you're working with, as you continue your learning with PowerPoint, get in here and kind of play around with these different options. Click on them, see what they do, see what options they offer, and kind of just get comfortable with kind of those different activities that you can do within Microsoft PowerPoint. So if you are in the Backstage View, like we're here looking at our print screen here, and we want to get back to our work window, right up here on the top left, we have this little back arrow, this leftward pointing arrow here. I'm going to click that, and that will take me back to my work window here. So continuing the tour, let me know again if you have any questions. Please drop them in the chat and I will answer them when I see them. So continuing with our tour here, I've already talked about our work window here where we're actually seeing the slide that we're working on. We have our slide contents over here, or a table of contents where you can kind of see the different slides. As I mentioned before, this top section up here is what Microsoft calls the ribbon. And the ribbon has been the standard navigation system for Microsoft Office since Office 2007. That was a big controversial thing when Office 2007 came out, was that they changed the way that that you navigated and accessed the different features on Microsoft Office. It took a little while to get used to, but once you got used to it, I actually have learned to prefer it. And for a while, I was using an older version of Office that there was some programs that didn't have it, and I was like, this is really weird not to have that kind of thing. But it's in all the Microsoft Office programs now. So the ribbon is divided into several tabs, and you can see the different tab names up here. We have our home, we have our insert, we have our design, and so on. And this here is demonstrated in our handout. If we look at our handout here on the first page, this is just kind of a quick reference to the ribbon here. And so each, the ribbon is divided into different tabs, and you can see it's highlighting those there. And then each tab is divided into groups. Go back to PowerPoint here. And so we have a group, and it's divided by these vertical lines here. And so the different groups kind of cluster together different groups of features or settings that you want to do when you're working with PowerPoint. We have like our clipboards or our cut, copy, and paste over here. Our slides group over here, this is where you're able to actually create new slides and choose kind of the layout of those slides and organizing the slides. So we'll look a little bit about this here as we kind of where we start actually building our presentation. Sorry about that. Let me just get a drink of water here quickly. Moving further to the right, we have our font section. So this will, right now you can see it's all grayed out because I don't have any text selected, but if I go and select, I don't have any text. Okay, so now you can see, now that I'm ready to type something over here, I can see I can change my font thing. And so this is your basic font settings that you see in all Microsoft Office programs. You get to choose the font, you get to choose the size, bold, italic, underline, shadow. A little bit design things. You don't see shadow in Microsoft Word because Microsoft Word is just supposed to be just presenting the text on there. Whereas PowerPoint is a design program where you're designing the look and you're getting more of a graphic quality on there. Things like highlight or text color, those are things that are available here in the font section there. Moving over, we get paragraph. This is where you get things like bulleted or numbered lists. Whether you are indenting, you get things like, is it going to be left justified, centered, right justified? This here's just line spacing, how much space is in between the lines. Text direction, so you can make things horizontal, vertical, or stacked. You can kind of play around with kind of how the text gets presented on the screen. So this is kind of, so whereas the font tells you what the text is going to look like, the paragraph here tells you how the text is going to be arranged on your slide that you're creating there. We have the drawing section, so this is a quick area to get to things like drawing different shapes, like if you want to put in a rectangle or an oval or like arrows onto your slide, and you can put in shapes on there. So if you're drawing those shapes instead of just using pictures, that's what this section here is. And then there's just like a couple different things over here, like design ideas will give you, actually open up that selections of being able to kind of change the look. And again, we'll play around with design later on in the class here. Editing allows you to do a find, replace. So if you have a bunch of slides and you want to change some text in something there, like you want to go through and change the dates of something, you can do a find and find that specific kind of thing. And then later versions of Office, I believe Office 2019 and Office 365 definitely have this voice dictation, so you can actually have it, you can speak and it'll put the text as you're speaking on there. So it'll be like an automatic transcription of what you say. So that's the Home tab. The other thing to kind of pay attention to in most of the groups here is you'll notice that down here in the bottom right corner of each of these groups is this little icon, this little box with a another arrow kind of pointed there. And what this does is this opens up a pop-up window. Let me click it. That gives you some more functions that don't fit on the ribbon. So it gives you the functions that you normally have here on the ribbon. So you can see here, font, I can choose what font I want to do. I can choose the size. I have my options about whether it's superscript, strike through, underline, how do I want the underline to appear, the color. So those options that may not show up on the ribbon, if you don't see what you're looking for on there, such, click the little pop-up thing if it's available, and it will give you some more options that aren't visible on the ribbon. Moving on, we have our Insert tab. The Insert tab, so most of the time when you're spending in Microsoft PowerPoint, you're going to spend a lot of your, the first time when you first open up the slideshow and you start working on it, you're going to spend a lot of time in the Home tab, where you're playing around with you're choosing your fonts and the justification and bullets and creating new slides. You're going to spend a lot of time there. You're also going to spend a lot of time in the Insert tab, and this is where you bring things into PowerPoint. So when I say bring things into PowerPoint, I'm talking about like bringing in pictures, or putting a table in there. If you want to organize a table of, or not a table, like a table or like a chart, not a chart because a chart is a graph, but like a table of information on there. You can put a table in here. Shapes, 3D models, there's a bunch of different things here. We have our text boxes. So like this here is like a text box where the text is inside of it. You can add in the text box, and we'll see this as we start building our slides later in the class. Header, footer, date and time, a slide number if you want to put the number, like if this is slide 2, slide 3, slide 4, you can put the slide number on there. This is similar to the page numbers that you get in Microsoft Word. So this is the stuff that you're inserting. Inserting media. Are you going to insert like audio? You're going to have it like somebody, as you're doing the presentation, you want to put in like an audio sound or a video that you want to play. This is where you'll be able to kind of add that information. So if I click on video, I can do like an online video and link to an online video. I can do video on my PC. So if it's a video file saved on your computer, you can then embed it into PowerPoint and then play it. I actually highly recommend that if you are doing a PowerPoint presentation and you do want to share a video, using the video on my PC option here rather than the online video is usually a better option, because if you end up not having internet wherever you're presenting, or the internet is poor wherever you're presenting, it might be hard to play the online video, whereas if it's something that's built into the presentation, it will be able to play automatically. So as you're doing, a tip when you're doing PowerPoint presentations, beyond just building PowerPoint and you're ready to do the presentation, is always kind of assume that, okay, you have to have everything contained within that PowerPoint. Don't assume that you're going to be able to go out to the internet and bring things in. Try to get as much of that into the PowerPoint presentation as possible. Continuing on, we have our design tab. This is where we're able to play around with the different looks and feels of our slides. We'll come back to this a little bit later. We have transitions, and so this is stuff that is covered in the second PowerPoint class that we offer. We offer an intermediate PowerPoint class that's not going to be offered this month. I believe it's on the schedule sometime in October, and I'll kind of go over that schedule near the end of the class. So here we're just looking at the basics, but we do start looking into things like transitions and animations available there. Slideshow, this is where you're able to start working on when you start presenting the slideshow. This is kind of the table, the ribbon section that you'll be working in. How you start your presentation and like where it'll get presented and how you view it and everything. Review is a useful tab when you're working with other people collaboratively in Microsoft Office. This is where you can check your spelling, you can do language kind of things, but you can also like add comments and share it with somebody else, and they can see the comments or make changes on there as well too. And so yeah, so that's just a basic kind of run through of the ribbon and a basic tour of PowerPoint. Last couple of things to kind of see on our tour is down here at the very bottom of the screen. In fact, what I'm going to do actually is I am going to shrink this down, and I'm actually going to bring this up towards the middle of the screen so it's a little bit easier to see. So instead of trying to see way down the bottom, you're seeing it right here. So we also have down here, we have a status bar. So the status bar will tell you like what slide number you're currently on. Spell check is available right here. It's a single click. We have a couple different tools. How is the screen being viewed right now? So like right now it's in normal view where we're just seeing the single slide that we're working on, but we can also do things like slide sorter where we can actually see the slides all kind of arrayed out, and you can kind of organize them in the way that you want. So you can drag and drop and move around more easily than you can do up and down, because up and down works if you only have like 4, 5, 6 slides. But if you're doing a presentation that's going to have 10, 15, 20 slides, trying to move things up and down, scrolling up and down can be a little bit difficult. So this ends up being a good view to kind of see them all next to each other and move things around. We have reading view. So this just allows you to kind of see what the slide looks like without all the other interface all around it. And you're able to go back and forth and see the different things. And then last thing here is start slideshow. This allows you to go in and see what it looks like if you're presenting slideshow. And then we have our zoom thing over here. This, not zoom as in the software, the video the video conferencing software. Zoom as in zooming in and out, making it larger or smaller on your screen. Zooming in and out is not going to actually make it larger. So if I zoom into here, this text is larger, but it only appears larger. I'm not actually making the text any larger. This is still the same size text that I was working with before. It just looks larger on my screen. So zoom is useful when you're working on things, but don't assume that that's what it's automatically going to look like when you present it during presentation. Go here, back to full size. And so that's our tour of the of Microsoft PowerPoint. If you have any questions about that there, feel free to drop it in the chat. And so now we are going to get into actually working with PowerPoint. So what we're going to do is on the handout that is available at fergusonlibrary.org/online-tech-classes, you want to download and view the PowerPoint if you want to follow along. What I'm going to do through the course of this class as we get into the exercises that we're working on here is I will show several of the steps of the exercise. Like here, we're going to go through and we're going to enter in do the first 3 exercises that I have here on the handout. We've already opened a new PowerPoint slideshow. I'm going to show those there. I'm going to walk through each of the steps on that. And then I'm going to go and give you between 2 to 4 minutes, depending on how long I think it will take to kind of do that kind of thing. Time to go, you can go off and do it in your own PowerPoint, because you might be watching my video here on your screen, and then you have to go to PowerPoint, and you want to be able to focus on PowerPoint instead of trying to figure out how you see the video and the and PowerPoint at the same time. So what I'll do is I'll give a little bit of time for you to go off and try the exercises yourself. those are good times to ask questions, because then I can demonstrate and show and answer the questions while people are working on the exercises. So with that said, let us go into and start working on the first exercises here. So again, when you open up Microsoft PowerPoint for the first time and you open up a new blank presentation, unless you go in and change these settings, this is right now what we see here is the default. This is what happens when we open up a new blank presentation in PowerPoint. The first slide that we get is what's known as a title slide. And the title slide, obviously by its name, gives you a place to put a title and then add a subtitle. So a title is whatever you're calling your presentation. And then the subtitle is just a little bit of extra information on there. So I tend to like to put who I am or where I'm from, that kind of information into the subtitle there. Or it could just be, it could be like the subtitle of a book, which is that point that on a book title, it's like after a colon and or after like an article or something. But what we're going to do here is we're going to click where it says click to add title, and you'll notice that the text, when I click on there, the text that says click to add title disappears, but I do get this flashing cursor, which tells me that, hey, it's ready for me to start typing text into Microsoft PowerPoint. I also just want to take this quick time here to just kind of show the box that's around here. This is a text box, or in this case, it's actually a title box because this is recognized as a title. But this area around here, you'll notice that this is the space that the text will show up. So this is the far left side that the text will go to. This is the far right side. This is as high as it will go, and this is as low as it can go. And you can see that this here is set down at the bottom of the text box there. If I wanted to, there are ways to move that up to the top of the, there should be. There are ways to kind of get it so it goes up to the top of the box, but we're not going to, actually, yeah, there we go. So up here on the paragraph there, under aligned text, right now it's set at bottom, but I can also go top or middle. And if I click top, you can now see the cursor is up at the top of the box. I'm going to go back to the bottom because I'm just going to leave it the way that it is. Also in this title box around here, and this is the same as with the text boxes, you'll notice there's these little round dots that show up. There are 6 of them. There's 4 at each of the corners, and actually, no, sorry, there are 8 of them. There are 4 at each of the corners, and then there's 1 at the center of each side. And what these are handles. You use these handles to resize the box. So if I put my mouse over here, you can see right now my mouse is this like a little, my mouse cursor is this little insert cursor. This is what they call an insert cursor. If I move it up to here, it becomes my standard arrow cursor. If I move it onto the edge of the box, you'll notice that it becomes this one here that has this has the 4 different arrows pointing in a different direction. And what this indicates is this is the move cursor, which means that if I click here and I'm holding and I drag, I can actually drag the box around where I want it to go. Hold on, do that. If I move the cursor over here to this handle, and you can see if I move it to this corner handle, I get this diagonally pointing arrow. If I move it down to one here on the side, I get arrows that point left and right. If I put it up here in the top, it will point up and down. Over here, it'll be diagonal, but in the other diagonal. And what this basically is telling me is this is the resizing handles. And so here in the corner, when I put it here, is I can resize the box diagonally, which means that I will resize the width and the height of the box at the same time. And what does that mean? If I click this and drag, you can actually see now I'm making the box smaller. If I move it, I can move it left and right and just make it narrower. I can move it up and down to make it taller or shorter. I can move it diagonally to kind of make sure that the aspect ratio stays the same. If I click on the side one here, I can't move it up and down. If I'm moving it up and down, it's not resizing, but I can just move it left and right. So if it's too wide, then you'll want to use the side ones. If it's too tall or too short, I can use the up and down here. If you notice, left and right, it doesn't work, but up and down it does. The diagonal ones will allow me to move in all directions, moving that one corner that I chose. So if I like where this, say, this top left corner is, if I like where this is, I want this to stay where it is, I can come over here and resize going that corner there. You'll notice actually that I can't actually, I can move it up and down, but I can't, but if I move it down, it just makes it larger. Whereas if I grab this top one and move it down, it'll move it shorter that way there. So let me just, there we go, undo everything. I'm hitting Control Z to undo. Also right up here on the very top, we have our we have undo and redo. Undo, you can click it. So don't be afraid to experiment and try and play around and see how things look. If you do something that seems to like really mess things up, come up here and just click undo a couple times and you'll undo whatever you just did. So let's go in and let's actually start working with our first exercise. So I'm going to click where it says click to add title. And the title we're going to put in is My Trip to Washington, D.C. So yeah, so the photographs that I've shared with you for this class are actually photographs that I did take in Washington, D.C. Last summer when we were all allowed to travel still. So they're out there free to use. They're my pictures, so you don't have to worry about copyright. And then we're going to go trip to Washington, D.C., and then I'm going to click where it says click to add subtitle, and I'm going to put to a photo essay by, and then here you're just going to put your name. Here I'm going to put my name. Oh, and I realized I forgot to introduce myself at the beginning of the class. I'm usually better at that there. So yeah, I'm Frank Skornia. I'm the digital librarian for adult and information services at the Ferguson Library, which means I handle our computer classes as well as our digital resources like ebooks and databases. I'm also a reference librarian, so I do answer our reference questions, whether virtually through our virtual chat or actually in person because we do have the library open now. So that's who I am. I'm also the one that schedules the classes, so of course I'm the only one teaching them right now, so therefore I am scheduling myself what classes I'm teaching. So yeah, so now I've entered in my title and my subtitle. I am now going to give you just about a couple of minutes to go into your Microsoft PowerPoint, and what you'll want to do is if you haven't opened up PowerPoint yet through the course of this class, you'll open up PowerPoint, which will take you to the Backstage View where it says Home here. You'll want to go to New over here on the left, and you'll want to click on Blank Presentation. And what that'll do is that will give you a blank slide that looks like this, and then you'll want to click where it says click to add title, and you'll want to put in my trip to Washington, D.C., which is what it says on the exercise sheet right down here. Zoom in a bit so that we can, there we go, right down here. Click to add title, my trip to Washington, D.C., and then you'll click on where it says add subtitle and add a photo essay by your name. And you'll enter your name. You can enter my name, but it's more personal if you enter your name. So with that, take about 2 minutes, and if you have questions, please ask them in the chat. Okay, so there hasn't been any questions. I assume that everybody has gone in and created their title slide in their presentation. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a new slide to start putting in more content. So in order to do a new slide, we have to be here in our Home tab on the ribbon. And right up here in the top left, we have the slides section here, and there's this new slides. And so what I'm going to do, okay, so one of the things I just want to introduce here is that in Microsoft PowerPoint, or in Microsoft Office, this is actually true about all the major Microsoft Office products, in the ribbon, you'll notice that there's actually, that the new slide here is actually two different buttons. You can see as I move my mouse up and down above each one there, it highlights a different button. So the top one here is just the button. I click it, it's going to do the action. So what happens when I click this? I'm going to click it there, and it's gone in and it's added in a new slide here with two different sections. It has a click to add title, and it has a place down here, add text, and then these like little like content adding icons here. This is not really my preferred way of working with Microsoft PowerPoint. I do find that it can just be kind of misleading or kind of stifling in design. Always have to do a title and click to add text, and then this kind of, it always just kind of, it distracts me how I work on there. So I'm going to just delete this slide. I'm going to right click and delete slide. If I move down up here, but back up to my new slide button up here on the top left, everything's very good. And you'll notice that right down here on the second part, if I click this here, it'll actually open up a menu of the where I'm actually able to choose different slide designs, or different slide layouts as they're called. These are different layouts. And the one that I tend to lean towards using all the time is I just come down here to this blank slide. And when I click on that there, what that does is just gives me a blank white slide, or whatever the background. If I have a design, it'll choose automatically the design there and such. But I like to work with just the blank look there and such, because it just allows me to be a little bit more creative, not be bound by what PowerPoint thinks I want to do in a slide. It also means I don't have to, if I want to do something different than what the layout's providing me, I don't have to clear out the parts of the layout. So I'll come back here. Actually, that actually automatically created a blank slide since that was the last thing I created. So what I did before was it did this. If I had created this here, and it's like, okay, I don't want a title. Now I have to go in, I have to click on this, and I have to delete or remove. Delete it. Actually, I don't even know if I can delete it. I can't delete that as part of the layout. If I don't put anything in it, it won't show up. But it's there, part of the layout. I can't actually get rid of it there. So that's the so that's one of the things about using like the blank slide, means that I can put in the elements that I want to put into the slide in the way that I want them to be. Where, I mean, this year makes it really easy to go in and create some slides very quickly of a certain type when there's a layout there. But the blank slide just gives you more freedom, more creativity, and you're not having to worry about cleaning up kind of different layout elements that are on there. So basically my point is when you go next, when you create your first slide after working on your title slide, come here, click on the bottom part of the new slide button as opposed to the top part, and come down and choose blank, and then just create a blank slide, just to kind of create things with more content. So now we have a blank slide. Now we need to put something into our blank slide. So we do that there by coming up here to the Insert tab. So the Insert tab is, again, what I was pointing out before, is where we're able to actually go through and insert a whole bunch of different things, whether we want to put in images over here, whether we want to put in shapes, whether we want to put in like a text box, and we're going to work on a few of these here. You'll notice over here, we also still have our new slide option. This is the exact same new slide option that we saw here in Home. So, so if you're working in the Insert tab, as I mentioned before, the Insert tab is going to be one of the more frequent tabs that you'll spend time in PowerPoint, more so than you would in like PowerPoint or Excel, or not, in Microsoft Word or Excel. Word has a very similar Insert tab in its ribbon, but you don't spend as much time in it as you do here in PowerPoint. So now that I have a blank PowerPoint and I want to insert in a picture, I'm going to come up here to where it says Pictures, and I'm going to click, and it's going to give me a little menu here. And so I can choose to insert pictures from this device, from stock images, or online pictures. I'm always I like to, when I'm working in PowerPoint, I like to kind of get everything together and like save them in one folder together. So I'm not automatically always jumping online to get pictures or whatever. I tend to like to save things on this device, and that's what we're doing here. So if you've downloaded the images from the online tech classes page, that's what we're going to be working with here. So because they're saved on your computer, you'll want to use this device. And it says this device instead of this computer because since when? I don't remember. Since 2012, 2013, whenever Microsoft introduced the Surface tablet, they've been trying to kind of merge together using Windows on both a computer and using it on a tablet, like the Surface tablet. So everything is a device rather than just a computer, because you can do the same thing whether you're doing it on a touchscreen or whether you're doing it with a computer and mouse on here. That's why it says this device instead of this computer. So I'm going to click this device, and what it's going to do is it's going to open up the open file, or it says insert picture, but it's a standard Windows navigation open file thing. And I'm going to go to where I downloaded the pictures. In my case, I put them into, I put them here. Here we go. Here we go. So here's my pictures. It's like, where did I save them? And so on your computer, it's going to be wherever you save them. If you save them to your download folders, you'll want to go to your downloads. If you save them in a folder onto your desktop, you'll want to go to desktop. So wherever you save those pictures. And I'm going to choose this first one here of the Washington Monument. It was kind of a stormy day, actually, when I was in DC, and it took this here, as you can see. In fact, actually, I almost got drenched before I got to the Lincoln Memorial, actually. So I walked around the Washington Monument. It's all like blocked off right now because they're doing renovation work on it. I think actually now it's done. When I was there, it was like I couldn't get very close to it. And then I walked down past the reflecting pool. I was about halfway down the reflecting pool when like the rain almost started, like just about started, and it was like a race down to get underneath into the Lincoln Memorial, so I didn't get completely drenched. But yeah, it was a very stormy day. So I've inserted the picture. And now that I've inserted the picture, you can see it automatically fits the picture to fit the height of the slide, because the picture itself it's actually a really big picture. It's a high resolution picture, and so the picture is actually bigger than the slide, so it automatically fit it onto the slide. And it'll do that there. If I have a picture that's wider than the slide, it will make it the same width as the slide there. But what happens is, and it automatically dumps it right here into the middle of the slide, which is, I mean, if you're just showing off the picture, this is not a bad default place to drop the picture. But this isn't exactly where I want it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the picture, and you notice that as soon as I click on the picture, I get my little handles all around. So the same thing that we were looking at when we were looking at the text up here. When I click on this here, we're seeing that same thing up here. And you can see now I'm starting to get design ideas presented to me again. Come over here. There's some cool things. I like this one here with the coffee, the coffee ring stain. There's some cool design things on there. I highly recommend. PowerPoint is a really fun program. I know it's weird for me to be saying that but I highly recommend that when you're done with this class, just open it up and go in and just kind of play around. See all the different kind of crazy design things that it gives you. Drop in a bunch of different pictures and just play around with a lot of different things. PowerPoint is a lot more fun to play with than Excel or Word is. So get in there and kind of play around with it when you're done with this class. But to continue, click on the picture, and I have my little handles. And so what I want to do is I want to resize this picture so it's not filling up the whole top, up to the top and bottom of the slide. And I'm going to do that by coming up here to one of the diagonal handles. And when you're working with a picture, working with the, you want to work with these diagonal or these corner handles rather than the ones on the side, because what they'll do is that when you resize with the corner handles, is it will keep what's known as the aspect ratio of the picture. And the aspect ratio is the height to the width. So what does that actually mean? So if I click up onto this corner here and drag it down, you can see if I move my cursor left and right, it resizes it equally. Like basically, so the height and the width change at the same time. So what happens is the picture doesn't end up being squished. It just ends up being smaller. It doesn't look squished. Or if I make it a lot larger, it doesn't look stretched. And so I can show you, if you grab one of the edge ones here, so if I come here either to the left and the right or the top and the bottom, if I come over to here and move this here, I can't change this up and down, but I can change it left and right. And you can see as I do that there, the height stays the same. The height stays the same, but the width shrinks. And what it does is it ends up kind of squishing the picture, which might be the effect that you're looking for. If that's what you want to do, you can squish the picture. I can come up here to the top and bottom and I can squish it this way. So now I have a short squat. If I do this here, I can make it a very fat, short Washington Monument. But in most cases, when you put a picture into PowerPoint that you're working with a picture and such, you want it to stay looking the same way that it does. And you do that by using these corner handles here, and that'll keep the aspect ratio. So then you're able to kind of like resize it to what you want to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to resize this to about this size. And you can see, once again, my cursor, when I move it over there, I get the little resize handle there. If I put my mouse over the picture, I get like my little move cursor. I can then click and drag this and move it around. Now you'll notice that as I start moving this around, I'm getting this dotted line showing up. And what this dotted line are what they call guidelines. And so it's one of the things that Microsoft PowerPoint offers to you when you're designing your slides. It gives you kind of guides that tells, okay, so right now, this one where I have it right now, where I'm seeing this guideline that's going up and down through the picture there, is it telling me that the center of my picture is also aligned with the center of the slide. If I move this over to here, there we go. If I put this over there, you can see now that the right edge of my picture has that dotted line in there. Such what this is now telling me is that the right edge of my picture is lined up with the center of the slide. If I move it up and down, there we go. If I move it up and down, now the center, the up and down center of my picture is now centered up and down on the slide. And you'll notice actually as you play around and work with this here is that it will actually it has what they call a snap to function. So as I get closer to that there, you can see as I'm moving it very slowly down, all of a sudden it will jump. Boom. It'll jump down and almost click onto, you don't hear a click, but that's what it almost like has a sensation of clicking onto that place there. So what they do is they just give you a very easy tools to kind of make sure that everything kind of lines up properly so that you're not putting things off like a little bit off centered. People like symmetry. They like things when they line up like right into the center here. Like if I put this here, and let's see if I can get it. There we go. So now I have both the lines going left and right and top and bottom. Oh, I lost it. There we go. Which now tells me that the center of my picture is at the center of the slide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this actually over to here. I want to have it centered top and bottom. I'm just going to put this over on the left side, right there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to insert in another picture of the Washington Monument that I have. I'm going to come up here to Insert. I'm going to come back here to Pictures, this device, and it will remember the last place that I got images from. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this one here. This is another picture of the Washington Monument taken from the Lincoln Memorial. And as you can see, once again, this is a big picture that is actually larger than the size of my slide. In this case, actually, it's completely filled up my slide. And so that's what they'll do. That's what PowerPoint will do, is it'll automatically resize the picture to best fit inside the slide as if that was the only thing you're showing. You'll notice that my other picture is hidden behind. It's still there. It's just behind. It hasn't gone away. It's hidden behind this picture here. This is a great shot. You can see the storm that we kind of go through, all the rain, but I got this great shot of a rainbow here going over the Washington Monument. Yeah, I was kind of pleased with how these pictures came out. So moving down, I'm going to actually resize this picture. So once again, I'm going to go and I'm going to grab the corner handle, and I'm going to click and I'm going to drag it down. And so you can see actually as I'm resizing it, I also still get those guidelines. So like what this one here is telling me now is this is now telling me that that top left corner is at the center point of the slide. And so we're going to go down. Let's go to about that size there. So there we go. And now I'm going to kind of move it up, and you can see once again I get my little guidelines, but there are a couple other new guidelines that show up now that I have a second element on the slide. If I move this up to the top, you'll notice now I will get this little guideline that connects, and I can't, it's kind of hard, I can't actually like point it out to you, because if as soon as I let go of the mouse, it's going to let go of the guideline there, and I can't point at my screen because that doesn't, no, I can't. But you can see going across the top edge of the pictures, I almost need like a second mouse with a second pointer to make this work, but across the top edge, you can see that dotted line kind of connecting the two pictures across the top edge over there. And what that's telling me now is that's telling me that the top edge of my right picture, the one that I'm moving, is lined up with the top edge of the picture on the left. So it's a way, again, to line things up. I don't have to have it right next to it to have it happen. If I put this over here, you can see that a dotted line shows up, and you can see now top and bottom. I get these little arrows down at the top and bottom down there. And what that's telling me now, all these little guidelines are really kind of cool. They tell you what this is telling me now is that the space between the top of my right picture and the top of the slide is the same as the space at the bottom of the left picture and the bottom of the slide. All these different kind of cool things lined up. If I move this down to here, I can have them centered onto the same line. If I move this down to here, they can actually be lined up on the bottom. And actually, that's what we're going to do. We're going to line them up on the bottom. And actually, okay, so now I move this over to the right. And now what I've done is you can now see at the bottom of the bottom right, or the bottom edges of both pictures, there is, again, that kind of that guide, that arrow pointing back and forth. And what that's telling me now is that they are both now the same distance away from their edges of the slide. So the left picture is X distance away from the left edge of the slide. The right picture is that same X distance away from the right side of the slide, which is actually a good place to put it. So I'm going to just drop it there. So now I know that this is lined up on the bottom edge. I think it's, yeah, okay, now I have it lined up on the bottom edge, and they're both the same distance. This little gap here is the same on both sides. So it's a nice way to kind of line up and tie those slides, and tie the pictures together and kind of make sure that things look presentable. So the final thing we're going to add to this slide, we're just doing a very basic pictures and text slide. So I'm going to come back here to, actually, I realized I needed to show, you know what, actually, let's insert this, and then I'll kind of show you some other things that happen in PowerPoint too. I realize I've missed a step on something. So I'm going to come up here. I'm coming back to my insert tab. I'm going to come over here to the right into the text group, and I'm going to choose text box. And in the text box, now what happens is I click on it, and now you'll notice my cursor is this like little sword-like cursor. And what this is this allows me to what they call, this is a, it's a kind of like a drawing. So it's more like, it's actually like a pen rather than a sword. Because what it does is now that I've selected text box, I get to draw the size of the text box that I'm going to be putting text into. And what does draw mean? It means that I'm drawing a box on the screen. So what I'm going to do is I usually like to start in like the top left corner of the box. So I choose like where my top left corner of the box is going to go. I'm going to click, and now you can see that the sword icon changed to this cross icon, and I'm going to drag diagonally down right. And you can see actually I get different guidelines. Like this here again is another guideline that tells me that the width of the box that I'm drawing is the same width as the picture over on the left. I move over to here. Now this here is the same width as the picture down on the bottom, which is actually a good width. I'm going to keep that one there. And if I actually size this here in a way, I can probably, there we go, I can make it so this now my box here is the same size as the picture down below. I always, the guidelines are something that has shown up in later versions of PowerPoint. They weren't in like much earlier versions of PowerPoint when I first started learning this year. So I'm still always really tickled when they come up in the different things that they do. But we're going to keep the width, and I'm just going to put this, there we go. Make this, we don't want it to be too big. There we go. Okay, so now I have a box, and you can see now I have my little flashing cursor. This looks and acts just like the text box that we had back when we were creating our title and our subtitle over here. I can change the font. I can do all these different kind of things. I tend to say right now when you're first creating your slides, don't play around with the fonts. Go through, create everything, and then when we start designing, we'll be looking at the design tab in a few minutes actually. do your font changes and your look and everything through the design tab. And the reason for that, we're going to talk about that in a minute. I'll tell you about the reason about that then. But for right now, we're just going to type in. What are we going to type in? We're going to type in Washington Monument. That's what the exercise says. Washington Monument. The other thing I want to say is when you're putting things, when you're inserting stuff into your PowerPoint slides, you're inserting, whether you're inserting pictures, whether you're inserting a text box, don't be too picky about where you draw that box. So like, oops, I didn't want to hit enter. Where I drew this text box up here, it didn't matter whether I have it in exactly the place where I want it to go. The easiest thing I find to do when I'm doing a text box is I come in, text box, draw it in really quickly, type in my text, and then, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this. I don't want to keep this one here. And then once you have your text in there, you can then move it around. PowerPoint is very flexible. Put it in there, and then you can move it around. And then what happens is because you now know what the text is and the size of the text, you can then move it around and line it up better than trying to guess where that lining up would be as you're drawing the box. So just go in, draw the box. You can draw the box anywhere on there, type your text, and then move it into place. What I'm going to do. And so as I'm moving this around, you can see there's a bunch of fun different, oh, come on. Where did they go? I was looking at some fun different guidelines going on. So I have different things like lining up. And so what this does is this lines up the bottom edge of that to the, I can line up the center of it to that there. Getting some other ones. Where did they go? Like something like this here, because my text box is actually the same size as the width, that's why that lines up really well there. I can line this up here. So you can see, okay, here we go. Here's I'm getting everything coming in. So this is a really great way to demonstrate these guidelines. As I said, I love these guidelines. So the text box that I'm drawing, the left edge is lined up to the left edge of the picture on the bottom. The top edge is lined up to the top edge of the picture on the left. The right edge is the same distance from the right edge as the picture on the bottom. This is also the same distance from the top as the bottom picture is from the bottom. There's a lot of cool things, like where this lined up here and such. This is like everything's kind of like lined up with everything else on the slide. There we go. I'll let it go. I'll keep that there. That's a good place to kind of put that. Everything's kind of lined up evenly all over the place, saying Washington Monument. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to let you go for, we're going to say about 5 minutes in this case. Take about 5 minutes, go in and follow exercises. Let me open up the thing here. We're going to do, okay, so we've already done this here. We're going to create a new slide using the blank layout and then do exercises 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. This is what we've done. We've done these all the way up to 9 here. Move the text box so it's aligned with the center of the slide in the second image. Oh, I actually have it. Okay, so let's follow my instructions actually. Why don't we do that? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to resize this. Nope, resize that there. And so what I want to do is I want to line this up with the center of the slide, which is there. Oh, that's not right. What we'll do is we'll just put it centered on the slide there, like, or centered on the picture there. There we go. Let's do that instead. There we go. So Washington Monument. Just resize. So yeah, so go in, follow up to step 9, and then if you look at up to 10 actually, so that we've that lined up there, and then step 11 on the handout. Pull it up here again. Is use some of the other images from exercise to create 2 or 3 more slides. So take about 5 minutes, make the slide with the Washington Monument pictures, and then use the other images to create 2 to 3 more slides. Practice arranging the images in text boxes to see what kind of guides and snap to points that are available. It'll take about 5 minutes, so that'll be, I'll keep track of the time here. If you have any questions, please ask them in the chat. I'm also going to go through and create a few slides, and it's helpful to create when we're practicing or have a few different slides, even if you just have one picture and not any text on there, such. Just so that we can kind of just it's always helpful to have more than like 2 or 3 slides when you're kind of looking at things like design and when we start looking at the slideshow, because then you can kind of really see how everything's kind of working. take 5 minutes and let me know if you have any questions. And I'll be kind of working on doing my own slides here. Couple more minutes. One more minute. We will continue with the exercises. Right. So hopefully you have gone through and created a few different slides, putting in a variety of different pictures and text. We're not going to get much more complicated than this today, but what we are going to now look at is we're going to look at the design and how to change the design of your PowerPoint presentation. Though I realized actually during that time that there was something that I meant to show you that I had forgotten before. We're going to go back to slide 2 where we have our Washington Monument pictures. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on one of the pictures there. I just want to show you up here on the ribbon, there is a new tab that shows up. And this tab shows up when I click on a picture. And so what this is the picture format tab. And you'll notice that it's orange compared to the other ones which are in black. If I go click on this here, you'll see I actually have a whole bunch of different picture options here. This is what they call a context-sensitive ribbon tab. And what the context-sensitive ribbon tab is it will only show up on the ribbon here when you've selected something that it applies to. So if I click on text, you can see actually I get a shape format because the text box is considered a shape. And I can do a bunch of different things with that in there. When I go click on the picture, it becomes a picture format. If I create like a table, let me just in a table, you can see I get two of them. I actually get a table design and I get a table and I get a layout. So those context sensitive tabs, I'm going to undo that and work here, will show up only when you have something selected that applies to whatever the tab covers. Now in PowerPoint, the picture format here is a very useful tab on the ribbon. It gives you a lot of different kind of things you can do with your pictures. You actually get, I'm trying to think here. It's actually you get some adjustments. You get some basic photo editing or image editing tools here, so that if you bring in like an outside picture, like I've brought in this picture here of the Washington Monument, I don't necessarily have to go open it up in like an image editor like Photoshop or Paint or whatever else out there to make the edits that I want to do. I can come in here and do some things on here. So there's things like corrections. I can change like how bright it is. So you can see I can change the brightness of the picture if I wanted to. This will not affect the original file. This will only affect how this picture looks in the PowerPoint presentation here. So if I think this looks a little too dark, I can go in and lighten it up. I'm kind of happy with the way it is, so I'm not going to put it there. I can do things like colors. If you wanted to like really jazz up like the color saturation and like go like whole HDR on the thing, I can really saturate the colors, or I can desaturate the colors. I can go almost to like black and white if I want to. Color tones. Do I want it to be kind of more sepia toned versus very cool on there? I can also add in like different coloring kind of things. So I want to make it black and white. I want to make it grayscale. You can kind of play around with all. And if we click here on more variations, I can change the different colors that goes. There's a lot of cool things I can do. Not want to. Oh, okay. I can do artistic effects. You can do things like cement or like a mosaic kind of thing. Stained glass. Plastic wrap. So there's like a plastic wrap kind of filter kind of put over it. So these are the kind of like filters like you see with like Instagram or something on there. A pencil sketch. And so there's different ways that you can kind of play around and make the picture kind of look kind of cool. Transparency. So transparency allows you to like see something behind it. So actually let me show here. I do that. Actually, if I do this over here, there we go. And I do like transparency. You can now actually see the picture, the other picture behind it there. So that's what transparency allows you to do. Some different things to kind of go in and play around with. And as I said, PowerPoint's a lot of fun. Get in there, play around with these different settings. You can do picture styles. So like if I click on here and I want to have, say, like an oval frame around it, I can do that there. There's a whole bunch of different picture styles that you can kind of change things to, and change how it's presented on your screen. There's borders. Do I want to put a border around the picture? Do I want to have shadows, reflections, or things going on there? The last thing I just want to show you here in the picture format tab is I want to show you over here we have the size. Now, we've been resizing pictures by using the handles up, down, left, right, and kind of making sure that and kind of sizing them to the way that we can visually see. But you can also be more precise on how you resize the pictures, and you can do that right up here in the size section over here. So we have cropping. So if I wanted to say cut out parts of this picture here, I can like say cut out the top part, cut out some of the lawn down here, and do that there. I can crop the picture here. I don't have to go do it in a photo editing software to crop the picture. I can do it right here in PowerPoint. And once again, this cropping will only affect what it looks like here in PowerPoint rather than affect the original picture. I actually do not want to crop this picture. Yeah, undo crop. Crop. No. There we go. Nope. Okay, let me get back. There we go. Picture format. But then there's also the height and width entry here. So where this comes into play is, actually, let me look at the second slide that I did here. This is a good place to kind of show this. I have these two pictures that were both taken they're about the same size, and I want them to show up as the same size on my presentation here. So if I click on this one here, I can see this is a height of 329 inches, and a width of 5.85 inches. This one here is actually resized the same size, but suppose it wasn't. Suppose this comes in and it's bigger there. There we go. So I want this second picture here to be the same size as this first one. So I can come in here and say, okay, this is actually, we're gonna make this 3.3. Just to kind of do that nice even 3.3 on there. And now I want this one here to be that same size. I could click, drag a handle, and try to eyeball it, but it's much easier I can just come in here, type in 3.3, and now it's resized to if I put this over on top, you can see it's the exact same size as the other one there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this here. There we go. I'll put that right there. There we go. There's a good place for it. And let's center the picture. There we go. So you can see by doing that size thing on there and such, it allows, so if you're putting like a bunch of different images onto your PowerPoint presentation, onto the same slide, and you want them all to be the same size, the easiest thing to do is to just choose the size. So size one of them, like eyeball it to the size that you want it to be, and then go in, like look at, okay, what's the height or the width, and go in and just change the other ones to match that same size. That's the easiest way, and allows you to be really precise with sizing on there. So I just wanted to show you, before we get into design, I realized I wanted to show this picture format, this context-sensitive tab that shows up, and how that context-sensitive tabs show up with other items that you have. So if I click on the text box, I get a shape format up here and a bunch of different things to do. Recommend, go in, play around with it, have fun. That's really what it comes down to. So moving into the kind of the next to last part that we're looking at here in the class is that we are going to look at actually designing the slideshow. Now, when we first started putting things in, as I mentioned, I could have gone in here and, like, I think this font here is just a little too small. I could have gone in and I could have made it larger. I could go in and I could do, say, some of this cool picture format stuff around the picture. I can make the picture styles. And that's useful if you want, like, each slide to look unique. But if you want, and I could go in and, like, each slide, let me see where I can see it here. Actually in design, yeah, there, so never mind. You could go in and you could do, like, you could change the background color of the slide. You can change the font. Like, if I wanted, I can go in here and I can change this to, say, a font that I like Alien Encounters. Make this Alien Encounters. But the thing is that if I do that change here, come on, click the whole thing. There we go. I go and make this Alien Encounters. There we go. So if I go in and change that there, it only changes it on this slide. So if I go look at slide 2, these are still the same font. This up here is still the same font. So we're going to undo that font change. Usually those kind of design things, you could either do them individually, but then you have to do it on every single slide. And when it comes to PowerPoint and doing a presentation, consistency is a more important factor of design than making everything look pretty. If you can keep things consistent, keep your fonts consistent so that they're all easy to read, keep your colors consistent so that, like, things that, again, You want to think about things like how easy it is to read from a distance. This is getting projected up onto a screen, or somebody's seen it on their screen on their computer. How easy is it to read? You don't want to have a like light green text on a yellow background, because that just hurts people's eyes and they can't read the text. So you could do everything individually, but it is helpful to actually go in and do the design, which we go here to our design tab. This will change the look of every slide together so that they all are consistent and look the same. So now that here in the design tab has, first of all, access to a whole bunch of different themes. And so if I click here and open this up, there's a bunch of like built-in kind of office themes that kind of show up here. And I can go through and I can select one. And you can see as I put my mouse over it, it's giving me like a little preview in the back of kind of what it'll look like. And you can see like it will do things like it will change the background, it will change the font, it will change the colors. Like this one here, if I do this here, it gives this kind of cool like feather kind of thing that happens behind that there. If I go look at my title, you can see how my title's completely changed from what it was before. Go in and do something like this. So here's something with like this bar, and you can kind of see it does this all throughout here. So the themes, and then so the themes allow you, and it changes every single slide the same way. So all the fonts get changed to the same font. All the colors get changed to the same colors. If I go to here we go. So we have this kind of eggplant here, and you can kind of see, and unfortunately, because we just did the blank layout, we're getting a little bit boring kind of things going on here. But we'll look at that in just a second, how we can make that even more interesting. You can see even things like, for example, if I go, here we go, back to our original. This was our original one here. You can see this here was right here in the center. This was right underneath. But if I go to this here, this puts it down to over here, and it changes the color. It actually even rearranges where certain elements, the title and the subtitle element, went. So the themes allow you to change the overall look of the entire presentation. I tend to, my preference is to go in and put in all of my content. So put in all my pictures and my text into the slides, and then think of design and doing the look. You may decide to, as you're doing, is go through, choose a theme at the beginning, and then go in and enter in all of your, enter in your content based around, like this one here, like, because I chose this theme here, you can see now actually like this picture here, there's this little green border inside there. I would probably now have to come in here and actually resize this here. There we go. So that it's within this green border and that you get to see. So I'm not cutting off elements of the design that I did. If I had chosen this theme at the beginning, then I probably would not have had to come back and move those kind of things there. You can see over here, the same thing. This here is now kind of blocking. I need to kind of resize just a little bit. There we go. So kind of make things look a little nicer so that I'm not blocking the elements of the theme itself. So choose your options when you're working with PowerPoint. Go in and put in your content and then play around with the design, or choose your design theme and then build inside it. Like this here, this text actually needs to move down so that it's actually inside the box. But if I go in and select this here, now all of a sudden, okay, now this picture is actually in the wrong place. So I want to, give me the picture. So I can move that down there. Move around. I've lost all the alignment that I did with all the pictures, but that's okay. This is just a temporary kind of thing. So those are the themes there. If I click on this here, you can browse for themes. This will take you out to the internet where you can then actually go and find other themes that people have created. Tons of people use PowerPoint. Tons of people have done cool design things. There are variants. So the variants actually allow you to change colors, and they have like a bunch of different like colors that are complementary to each other, or you can go in and customize them yourself. The fonts, what fonts are being used. If I can change actually, and this will change all of the fonts being used through all of the slides that you've created. So the benefit of using this design tab and using these themes and the variants allows you to make sure that everything stays consistent. By choosing the font over here, I'm now ensuring that all of my slides are using the same font. Instead of me having to go individually, slide by slide, text by text, choosing a font. The last thing I want to show you here in the design tab is we're going to come over here to design ideas, and this opens up the design ideas over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my basic design here, because this gives me the most dynamic kind of things. And what this will do is this will give you some like really cool, unusual themes. The ones that come built into Office are kind of meh. I mean, they're nice. Actually, I like this one here with the feathers. I think this is a really kind of I really do like how this theme looks. But most of them are kind of, actually they're not bad. I mean, I wouldn't say that they're bad, but they're not exciting. This starts giving some like really exciting theme ideas. So for example, something like this here with this like paint splotch there. And this here will allow me to do design slide by slide. So if I go over to here now, and it'll give me some design ideas. Remember before I was talking about how I like this like coffee stain kind of look there. I can do that there. And what it'll do is it'll arrange the pictures and kind of put them there. So we'll actually change and move the elements around and kind of give you this like really kind of dynamic flash kind of look. So if I go something like this here, no, actually I like this one. This one kind of matches with kind of the paint splotch that I have on that first one there. I could do something like this here where it's taken my text, and so because it recognized that I used a text box, and then it aligns the pictures in kind of a pleasing format. So the design ideas over here in the design tab, this is something that's in, I know it's in Office 365. I think it might be in Office 216. I'd have to go and verify that there. If you're using Office 2016, and you don't see that there, please let me know so I know I'm not giving wrong information. But the design ideas here are just, they're really, actually this is a really good. So they get some really cool things. Like I probably would not have like thought about designing something like this myself. I'm not a designer, but being able to do a one click and get something that looks like this, that's fantastic. In fact, I can go in and I can do probably an idea. There we go. Give me my, there we go. I can do the same things here. It looks like this. What do we got here? Look at that. Of course, now I have to move my tags because like the things aren't the same there. Something like this here. Yeah, there's like some like really neat, cool things that it's done here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna actually stay with kind of our paint motif. Can I get my paint motif here? I can. There we go. There we go. So we got our little like paint motif going on. The paint motif did not really work all that well for here. Come on, design. Go ahead and give me some design ideas. Paint splotch. Not really. Not the way this picture. Okay. You know what? Because we're doing air and space, we'll kind of, yeah, we'll get kind of a futuristic kind of cool look. This actually worked really well. Let me get rid of this text box now because they don't really work. Oops. Text box don't really work for what we have here. And that's going to give me some new design ideas now that I don't have that. Something like this here. Oh, there we go. There's a great shot. So the design allows you to get some like really kind of dynamic kind of things, and it will the design ideas though will be slide by slide, as opposed to doing the whole thing. So finding like here, I was actually lucky to get this kind of paint motif that it kind of recommended me each time. That it kind of gives me a nice consistency as it goes through. I think the fonts are all different, but that doesn't really matter. And then this one's a little bit different, but you know, that's fine. We're just doing this here as a show. So that's the design. Allows you to design the themes, and the variants allow you to affect every single slide together. The design ideas allow you to do each slide, and kind of what it'll do is it'll take the elements that you've put in there. And so that means actually if you want to do something with the design ideas, you can just go in and just drop your pictures in. So if I go in and just do a let's do a new slide, new blank slide, and let me throw in a couple of pictures I haven't used yet. Of collecting pool. I'm going to go and drop in a picture of a grasshopper, which was outside of one of the museums. There we go. And now I can just grab in a cool design that puts in there. There we go. So I would just drop the pictures in there, and then I was able to jump to the design. Now I could go in and I could add in text if I want to, and then I might get some new design ideas. So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes. We're closing in towards the end of this class. Take about, actually not 5, yeah, take about 5 minutes. If you have 2 or 3 slides, take some time, go in, go to the Design tab, play around with the different themes, and see how the themes look with the content that you've created. And you can see, actually, as I select these here, it actually keeps my design idea. It's just kind of changing the background a bit. Play around with the variants, see the different variants that are available, whether it's dark, light, play around with the colors. Then also check out the design ideas. If you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. Take about 5 minutes, and then we're going to go and look at how to actually play the slideshow and what it looks like when you play the slideshow. So take 5 minutes. A few more minutes. If you have any questions. All right, so I think we have given enough time to kind of go in and kind of play around with the different design and look of your slideshow, PowerPoint slideshow. So we're going to go into the final thing that we're going to be looking at in tonight's class. So once you've created your awesome PowerPoint presentation and you are ready to stand up and present it to your fellows by whatever means that you're presenting them and such, it's important to know what happens when you go and play the slideshow out to other people. So I've seen a lot of people. I'm not shaming anybody and such, but I do see a lot of people that they'll open something up and then they'll almost go through slide by slide like this here. But PowerPoint has a lot of like really kind of powerful things that are kind of built in. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to this Slideshow tab right up here on the ribbon. And so now what happens is that there's a variety of different things to kind of pay attention to here. The easiest thing right up here at the top left is that we have from beginning, from current slide. This tells you like start slideshow. So you click this here and it starts showing the slideshow. So you have your computer or the computer at whatever venue you're at plugged into, usually like as a projector or a TV screen. And you click start slideshow and it just shows your slide. So it won't show any of this PowerPoint interface all around it. So you won't see the ribbon. Got it. Go. You won't see your slide layout here. Oh, and actually, I just want to quickly show. Remember, I was showing the different kind of layouts here. This is the slide layout here, where you're able to see them all kind of lined up, and so it'd be really easy to kind of move things around if you need to. So that's just wanted to kind of show what that looked like there back in the work view here. So you have two different start options. You can either do start from beginning, which means that even if I'm down here in slide 4 or slide 40, start from beginning, it's going to take me and start the slideshow from slide 1. From current slide means it will start wherever you're at. So start from current slide is very useful if you're doing like tweaks or changes and you just want to kind of see what it'll look like presentation wise. You can then just do from current slide and see what that current slide will look like in the presentation without having to scan through each of your different slides. We're not going to really kind of get into the present online or custom slideshow kind of things. Actually, I haven't even looked into what these here do. So let's just go in and I'm going to click from beginning. So we're going to click slideshow. Actually, first of all, save. Remember, always save your presentations. And I'm going to click from beginning. Oh, hold on. This is that messed up because I am using multiple monitors here, so I need to make sure that it's actually going to the right monitor so you can see it. So here we go, from beginning. There we go. So now you're seeing, you would not normally, in a presentation, you would not normally see my face or the Ferguson library logo up there. You would just see the slide that's being presented. But you can see this opens up onto the first slide because I hit start slide from beginning. As I am clicking, if I click around, as I click, it will actually move slides. I can also use the arrow keys to go forward and back through my slides. So hitting the right arrow key takes me forward a slide. Hitting the back arrow key takes me back. Now, when I move my mouse, you'll notice it might be kind of hard to see. It's very faint down here. But there's a little toolbar that shows up on here, presentation toolbar. That you can click for different tools that are available. So over here on the left and right are the forward and back icons. So I can go forward, I can go back. So I can click those if I want to. It's usually easier just to either click the mouse or use the arrow keys, or if you have a presentation remote, they're set up so that you can go forward and back pretty easily. Moving over, we have a little pen icon, and what this does, this allows you to actually draw or indicate. Like right now I have the laser pointer turned on, so I can actually indicate as if I was like pointing like a laser pointer at a screen. This is really useful if you're doing a online or virtual presentation like I'm doing here, because I can't actually point a laser pointer at the screen and you wouldn't be able to see it. But I can simulate a laser pointer there, or I can say do a pen and say, hey, we're going to actually draw. Look at this set right here. This is the important thing that you want to look at. I can kind of draw onto my slides and you're able to kind of see that in the presentation. Highlighter, I can erase all the ink on the slide, kind of clear it all up. Moving over, what does this one do? Okay, so this one here, so the next one over again, I'm sorry that these down here, they're hard to see for me. They're probably even harder to see for you on the screen. Down here, there is this one here goes into the slide chooser, which means that I can easily jump to the slide that I want to go to without having to scroll through each of the slides. So where this is useful is if you're doing your presentation and you've talked about one slide and you've moved forward, you've gone through 2, 3, 4 more slides, but then you want to refer back to something that you had in that earlier slide. you can quickly jump into the slide chooser and then jump back to that earlier slide and continue talking about the Washington Monument. The slide chooser allows you to quickly jump between different slides without having to go through them all individually. We have our zoom, and what the zoom does, this allows you to zoom in on a section of the slide. So if you end up having a slide that it's best not to put too much information on a slide at a time. But sometimes it's just the way that you have to get that information on there. Or you have a bunch of different pictures and you want to show kind of the smaller pictures. What you can do actually then is you can then zoom in using that zoom. Let's go back. Using the zoom, and it gives you this little box, and I can click on that, and that will then you can also click and drag around the slide. So here, this allows us to actually like zoom in. You can actually see, I didn't realize I took a picture of a Boy Scout troop doing this here. There's how much I've actually gone back and looked at the pictures, but you can see that detail now on there. So I can say, okay, so here's the rotunda and the flag flying above it. So you can zoom in and see that detail that you couldn't see normally in this case here. Moving further on the toolbar, we get the notes or subtitles. So this here allows you to do, there we go. So it's actually automatically creating subtitles as I'm speaking here, using machine learning to create the subtitles, which is cool. This is the first time that I'm actually seeing this. Do I exit that? Let's turn that off. So you can actually put subtitles into your presentation. Once again, a very useful thing to do if you're actually even presenting live, or you're presenting virtually in this case. It allows people to actually then follow along the subtitles. The subtitles may not be exact or always correct, but they're going to be close, and people will get a good sense of understanding what you're saying on there. And then we have the 3 dots one here, which gives us more options. So presenter view, what screen I get to set. Because I have several different screens set up here, I can actually have it show up on different screens. What is my arrow visible, or am I hiding my arrow? Subtitles, where they show, I could actually have them do bottom overlaid, and now let's turn on the subtitles. Where's my subtitles? Nope, I didn't want to leave that. Settings. Yep, okay. And let's turn them on. There we go. So now is it seeing the subtitles? There we go. So now it's seeing the subtitles, and it's actually overlaying them on the bottom there instead of creating its own separate space. So I was able to change those different kind of settings there. And then end show. You can also end show by hitting the escape key, or if you get down to the end of the show, you'll get to see this little black screen. End of show. Click to exit. Click to go back to PowerPoint. So that is what it looks like when you click play and show and go through your presentation. That's what it shows when it's being projected on a projector, or in this case, I'm showing it through digitally or virtually on there. There is a separate, you can see there's this thing here called presenter view. This is something that we actually talk about in the intermediate class. So if you're interested in kind of finding out about that there, what the presenter view does is it actually gives you a difference between what is projected and what you're seeing on the screen that you're presenting. So usually what happens is when you do a presentation with PowerPoint, you're sitting there with your laptop or the venue's laptop or computer sitting there. You have a screen in front of you at the podium or whatever that you're presenting. And what you see on the screen in front of you is different than what's being projected up on the screen that everybody else is seeing. It actually gives you better access to the tools that we're just looking at there. It also allows you to put in notes, because you can actually enter in notes for each of the different slides. And that's something that we do in the intermediate class as well too, as we look at the notes for the slide. So with all of that, let me know if you have any questions. This has been basic Microsoft PowerPoint. I've kind of shown some of the basic kind of stuff. There's still a lot more in PowerPoint. There's a lot to learn, and we just really can't cover it in the classes that we offer here. The best way to really do is just get in and play with it. I say that for all of the Microsoft Office programs. The best way to learn is just get in and experiment and try things out. With PowerPoint though, it really is kind of get in and play with it, because PowerPoint really is it's a lot of fun. I mean, there's just a lot of interesting dynamic things that you can do in PowerPoint that makes things really useful. So Before the end of class, there's just a few more things that I just want to bring up. If you want to continue your learning with PowerPoint or any Microsoft Office program, on the handout, as I mentioned, I do have this section here about lynda.com. Unfortunately, the Ferguson Library we've discontinued our subscription to lynda.com. We do have a replacement service though, and I do want to show you that briefly. So I'm back here at the online tech class. I'm at the Ferguson Library website at our online technology class resources here. Since we no longer have a subscription to Lynda, we do have a subscription to a service called Udemy. And how to get to Udemy, the best way to do it is if you come here to Learn and Explore on our menu. So you go to fergusonlibrary.org, come here to Learn and Explore, come down to Research, and then A to Z Databases. A to Z Databases will link all of the different electronic resources that we have available here at the Ferguson Library in alphabetical order. So it's usually the easiest, if you know what you're looking for, it's usually the easiest way to go and find that there. The Udemy link is also available here in Careers and Education. So, but right now you want to go to Research, A to Z Databases, and that will take you to our A to Z page. Right now, actually, we have really easy access. There's a box right here at the top of the A to Z that goes out to Udemy. You can also click on the U up here. That will take you down to our U and Udemy here. You'll notice that there is a little Ferguson Library logo next to it. This indicates that you do need to have a library card to access it. When I click that there, it takes me to the Udemy page here, asks me to enter my library card number, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly flash out to here as I type in my library card number because of security. Actually, never mind, it types it all into, can't actually see it. So actually, because I'll actually show you here. Actually, it enters it in as these dots. So better make sure that you know your library card number, that you don't mistype it going in. I happen to type them in so many times that for me it's natural. But so type it in slowly and make sure you type in everything because you can't actually verify that you typed it in correctly. Click Sign In, and this will then take you to the okay. There we go. I mistyped it that time. That time I got it. So this will take you into the Udemy page. Now, in order to use Udemy, you do need to sign in with a Google or Microsoft account. So you sign in either with your Google or Microsoft account to sign in. And signing in, what it does, it allows you to keep track of the progress that you have in Udemy. Udemy offers 4,000 plus online video courses, so you can go through. They have basic PowerPoint. They have all the Microsoft Office. Let me get rid of this, and so it's they have PowerPoint, Word, Excel, Outlook, Access. Has things like Photoshop and 3D drawing, and then it also has different kind of like learning skills. So you have things like business and management skills, digital photography, just a lot of different kind of things available. So it's a really great place to go and continue your learning beyond this class. I will be updating the handout to actually include several specific PowerPoint classes that will kind of refresh or expand upon what this class hit. I just haven't gone in and kind of gotten those yet on there. If you're interested actually in continuing any more online learning at the Ferguson Library, I actually do have a class coming up this Thursday night, online learning resources from the Ferguson Library, in which I do a deeper dive into Udemy as well as some of the other learning resources that we have available here at the Ferguson Library. Next Tuesday, I am teaching Learn How to Live Stream Online, which will look at how to use the open broadcasting software to actually broadcast what's on your computer and what I'm doing here out into the world and onto the internet. So if you're interested in kind of learning how to do this, please join me Tuesday night as I walk through. I introduce you to OBS, Open Broadcasting Software, OBS, and how to kind of set it up and kind of the different platforms and kind of different, so things like Twitch and YouTube and Facebook. The final thing I'd just like to point out or kind of go here is that I do have a feedback survey available here at this link, https:// www.projectoutcome.org/responses/52210. That's that number there is the ID for the feedback for this specific class. This link is also available on the online technology class page under the basic Microsoft PowerPoint. There's a survey link. Let me show here. PowerPoint. So this survey link here will take you out to the same thing. So if you've enjoyed this class, please go and share it in the feedback form that's available here. I'll keep this up for the rest of the class so that you can then see that and go complete the survey. With that, this has been Basic PowerPoint with the Ferguson Library. I have been Frank Skornia. If you have any questions, I will hang around for about the next 5 minutes or so, and I will answer any questions. Thank you for anybody who joined me. I look forward to seeing you Thursday night if you're interested in online learning resources from the Ferguson Library. If not, we do have a full new schedule of Microsoft Office and other learning classes available starting in September. September 1st actually is going to be basic Microsoft Word, and then there'll be a class every single week through September and October. So please join me then, and thank you very much. And I'll wait if you have any questions. Thank you very much for attending and following along. Okay, doesn't seem like there are any more questions. So once again, thank you for attending. I hope you have a really good evening and a good week, and everybody stay safe and well. Good night.